Hey, thanks for listening to the Better Leisure Podcast with Beau and Steve. Those are your hosts for today's show. We hope you guys enjoy and take care. Earlier this year, a prestigious Manhattan prep school fired its longtime director of health and wellness, Justine Fonte, for teaching at another institution. It wasn't that she taught somewhere else, it's what she taught, porn literacy. Have you heard this before?
I think probably heard you and Peter talk about it before.
Yeah, I know we might have mentioned something like this, because this is kind of a big topic, you know, but it says, now she taught this to high schoolers. Okay. And it says, even more revealing than the course itself has been the ensuing debate about how best to help teenagers navigate the adult content found everywhere in online life.
Okay. All right. So are you familiar with her work?
I'm not too familiar with her work. I remember a while back trying to kind of look up exactly what she taught. And if I remember, it didn't hit me as like crazy. I don't remember being hit by like this is but the article is basically, we'll get into it all.
Okay.
But it's this idea of someone teaching, how do you teach teenagers to navigate the adult content found everywhere in online life?
So I take it she's pro porn.
It seems that way.
Okay.
You don't really get an idea. It says, in a sympathetic write-up, the New York Times, which I think that's what that other article I talked to you about is referencing, defended Fonte's class for teaching students how to critically assess what they see on the screen. So it's like to be critical.
Right.
Hey, and it says how to recognize what is realistic and what is not, how to deconstruct implicit gender roles, and how to identify what types of behavior could be a health or safety risk.
All right.
So she's kind of trying to help teenagers to see, like, hey, is this really good? Is this really bad? What is the stereotypes in it? What is maybe the misogynistic qualities of this? Is there a kind of a degrading that's going on here? She's trying to help teenagers understand that. So it's kind of interesting, right? Because is there a place in especially a school system where this should be done?
I don't know. I think because okay, who's she calling? Who's her higher authority? Because social morals change all the time. So what's kinky right now may not be kinky in 15 years from now. So, or what do we teach this in the 1950s? What is everything based off of? Like, if you don't have anything, a higher authority to answer to, it's kind of like it's my opinion.
Yep.
Because what I find degrading, other people don't necessarily find degrading. They kind of find it fun.
Yeah, that's interesting. So there is, no matter what you teach on the subject, you're coming from a certain point, right, of like morality.
Yeah.
Right. It's just, someone's making some judgment call on what is good or what is bad or that kind of thing. Do you think in school that should be taught?
Well, I don't know. No, not morality. No. Okay. Everything I do, I look at it as a Christian worldview.
Yep.
So I don't believe I can go to the secular world to learn morality.
Okay.
Now, when I was, a non-believer, I'd be like, we gotta do it. Like I took sex ed and I went to public school. We had sex ed.
Yeah.
And the lady that taught it, some of it was very, just like biology, these are girl parts, these are boy parts. And then looking back now, sometimes I'll think about it, she started towards the end. So in the beginning, it's just these are boy parts, these are girl parts. I don't even know if you could say that nowadays, but back then it was boys and girl parts. But towards the end, as the course went on, it was like a semester long class. It started getting more into opinions. And there was some really looking back, I'm like, that's some wild stuff they're letting her say. But like when you're a teenager, I'm like 16 years old.
Yeah.
I think I'm all grown up, and I'm got raging hormones. I'm starting to experiment.
Yeah.
And so she was like talking to us, and it's like, I mean, this woman was probably like in her late 20s, early 30s. So we thought it was really cool. Like, oh, she's like, she's talking to us like we're an adult, and telling us, talking about sex, and But looking back, I was like, wow, that was like some wild stuff. She was saying, like, she's like, not to get too like vulgar, but like she was like, pulling out bananas and like putting condoms on them, and then like, okay, like you're teaching people how to use prophylactics, but then like she starts making these other little side comments and stuff that are, thinking back, is like, wow, that's like really inappropriate. Like I wouldn't want someone telling that to my teenager, like, oh, this is this and this is that, and some people like doing this kind of stuff, try it out.
Yeah, you almost think that maybe the place for those kind of conversations, would be the home.
Yeah. Yeah. Now as a father, yeah, I'd like, no, I don't want you talking to my kid about that. Like,
yeah,
especially as like a non-believer, like it's like, it was all just opinion based.
Yeah. In a secular school, like we grew up in secular schools or just secular public school systems, you have kids that know all about sex today that are going to these schools and have seen probably a lot of pornography already, and they're in, high school. And so I wonder, is there a place in that kind of culture where someone needs to come in there and say, hey, like, have you guys like looked, like examined what this is?
Yeah, I think so, yes. But to what extent, I don't know. I can't answer that. I know one of the most effective things they showed us during this class, there was one day like where it was kind of like Scared Straight, and they showed us slides. This is back in the mid 90s, early 90s, so it was like film strip still, and they're showing us slides of like venereal diseases, and I mean like graphic pictures, and you're like, wow, maybe I'll think about what I'm going to do this weekend now. Like it kind of scared you. It was like disgusting pictures, man. It was like, ugh, like,
yeah.
Oh, what's that? Oh, why does it look like that?
Did it have an effect on you in high school to deter you from kind of getting
for
involved?
A couple of days, and then it wears off. It's kind of like Scared Straight, It's like the DARE program.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, okay, like what? I smoke a joint and I'm gonna think I can fly and jump off the roof. Like I ain't doing that stuff. And you find out like, oh, that's not true.
Yeah,
that was a bunch of lies.
I don't think my early sexual encounters, I ever really thought about disease.
Oh, I did.
I didn't think much about disease. I thought more about just like, I think I was just freaked out by the whole thing. Just by the experiences. I was kind of just nervous in general. I was kind of very self-conscious of my body. Do I really know what I'm doing here? I think those things kind of clouded my brain. I always envied my friends that were kind of like the real alpha males, that seemed to like have it all together when it came to sexuality and sex, where I always seemed to be somewhat in my mind a little muddled, like insecure, or just like, do I really know what I'm doing here? Am I going to do a good job? Am I going to even know what I'm going to do? And that kind of clouded me when I was younger. So I didn't think about diseases or being scared straight or, hey, I'm not going to do this because what if she gets pregnant? I didn't think those things.
Oh no, I definitely. Where you went to high school, was it an affluent area?
I would say it was definitely middle class.
Was there like, did you go to school with like chicks getting pregnant in high school?
Oh yeah.
Because I grew up on the south side, and there was like tons of pregnant chicks. So like,
Yep.
It was very part of the culture. Like, so I was never self-conscious. I was just like, yeah, we'll figure it out. It's like that song Night Moves, we're working on our night moves, I used her, she used me. We were just working on our night moves, figuring it out, being young.
So you thought about pregnancy because you saw so much maybe there was quite a bit of pregnant women
Oh yeah.
in the school.
Yeah. And then with those sex education classes, they really like push condoms and safe sex and like how to have safe sex and all that. It was like a really big push, it seemed like, in the early 90s.
Do you think that those things were effective?
It made me, well, I definitely know I didn't want to get anyone pregnant.
Yeah.
And that was like during the whole AIDS epidemic, you know?
Yeah.
It was still like you died from AIDS back then, still. Like you got it, you were dead. There's no medicine, there's no nothing, you're a goner.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was scared of that. So I definitely I would use protection. It definitely I remember going down to Planned Parenthood and getting a bag of condoms for like $2.
Yeah, because so this lady's doing it when it comes to pornography. She's coming in there and it says, in other words, Fawn's class could help students consume online. I love how this phrase is. In other words, Fawn's class could help students consume online pornography ethically. As strange as that may sound, it's an approach more common than you think. 3 years ago, Nadia Bolz-Weber, a popular progressive writer, endorsed the idea. So to me, that in the article, it's a little bit of a opinion, that what they're doing is, teaching students how to consume online pornography. I'm not sure if that's true. I would imagine a lot of people in 2021, when this was written, a lot of kids already came into that classroom very much aware of online pornography and consumed already a particular amount of it. That the class itself wasn't teaching them to consume online pornography.
Kind of like we have a prom here now. How can we kind of reel it in type situation?
I think the writer is kind of throwing this in there of in other words, that's how this paragraph starts. Fawn's class could help students consume online pornography ethically.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of I don't know. I think it's a lost cause. I don't think you can help them. If you're living in the secular world, what do you, I know, even a little bit of pornography is it's sin. It leads to death. So what a little bit of pornography is okay? Well, as long as you watch this and, and don't watch this kind of stuff and only maybe 10 minutes a week, then you'll be all right. No, I don't, I think it's yeah, it's just a crazy world because we didn't have to worry about that stuff. Pornography was hard to find.
Yeah.
It wasn't access to pornography 24/7. All the porn buffet, all you can consume for free.
Yeah, you know what? What's funny? We got to do a podcast on this at some point. I was listening to let me look it up because it's kind of a neat podcast. It's for women, and it's not really a men's focused podcast, but it's called Sex Chat for Christian Wives. And just if you go to your podcast client, and it's Sex Chat with Christian Wives, but the one I was interested in was it talked about erectile dysfunction.
Mm-hmm.
And I know I've podcast on that before, but what I was thinking is there's always that link of pornography and erectile dysfunction.
Uh-huh.
But then it made me think too, how much sex does a person really want to or have to consume for it to be normal? What is normal sex? How much?
Yeah, I've heard you talk about that before.
Yeah, and then it's is there a pressure on men today, just in general, to perform, sexually for a long period of time?
I think so.
Like back in the day, I would imagine a dude got to 50 years old, and if he was still alive, it's you didn't expect him to be great in the sack. Because he's 50 and he's kind of close to dying. It's there's not much life left, and and it's today we kind of I kind of sense as a man that people expect us as men to have sex all the time, we did, we wanted to or did when we were 20, and I just find there's this kind of assumption like that if you have some kind of erectile dysfunction, or your penis doesn't get erect, that it's because of the over-sexualized world we live in.
So you think there is a link between pornography consumption and ED?
There could be.
But I'm asking you, what do you think?
I'm saying there in some people there could be, meaning there could be that 30-year-old dude who's just like, watching 10 hours of porn a day. And he's just masturbating till the cows come home, and where his wife, he's just not interested in his wife anymore.
I think I could see something like that happening where you're kind of like, it sets these really high expectations. Like and you're kind of like, and I think you can get down on yourself, and maybe, it gives you, I think you can mess with your head and mess with your self-esteem. Like maybe even more so like when we're talking about like old school porn, like Ron Jeremy and these, like in the era of the porn star, the real porn star, not this amateur stuff we got going today. Because those guys, these were like the athletes, these are the Wayne Gretzky's of the sex world, So like, like it's like when I'm watching hockey and I can be like, I know I can't do that.
Yeah.
I know I can't. It's, so you're like, do I even want to, I want to get out there once in a while and pretend like I can.
Yeah, right.
And so it's like the same thing. I'm watching these guys, Dirk Diggler, and I'm like, oh man, like I can't do that. Like if that's what I'm supposed to do, I can't do that. I'm not Michael Jordan.
Right.
Like,
right.
So
right.
I can see it like messing with your self-esteem.
Yeah. And so I do think there's certainly some of us human beings, through an overconsumption of anything, right, can affect your sex life. It's not just pornography. I think that's the misnomer in the argument, is that it's only pornography, mass porn consumption equals, issues with your spouse. But you can be into anything. You can be into anything a lot, and it's going to affect your sex life.
Or even just your lifestyle. We're very sedentary. Like that plays a big part into it. Your diet, your exercise routine. So it's kind of like, okay, maybe that's one portion of it, but we're ignoring all these other issues that just being in a Western civilized world, that how we live our lives. And maybe that's contributing too. Maybe the fact that I eat Big Macs every day maybe that's contributing to my ED too. Why don't we think about that?
Yeah. And it's such a good point, because it's not so cut and dry, and I'm saying there's pressure. I mean, I sense as a male, in my 50s, that there's like a pressure to have to keep going like you always did. And that is something that I find kind of odd, just culturally.
So you think that's a new thing? You think 50 years ago men weren't worrying about that? They just kind of rode off into the sunset and said, time to put my guns away, Ma. I can't use them no more.
Well, I do think that there's certain times in history where the longevity of life was a lot shorter. Mm-hmm. Life was a lot harder, a lot more difficult. And there was a certain period of time that you were expected to engage in sexual relationship with your spouse and have progeny. And really after those times, it really wasn't a big thing. It wasn't so emphasized, let me say it that way, in the relationship.
I don't know if I agree with that, man.
Yeah.
I think that's okay. Like I'm Mexican and I have a big family, and I have like great uncles. They were having like, their kids are kind of like my kids. Like they have really old kids, and then they were like in their late 40s,
mm-hmm.
turning their 50s, and they were still having babies.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's more of a cultural thing. Like I think, so I think that's more of like
maybe certain cultures.
Yes.
Yeah, and
yes.
you're probably right.
That's
you're
like
probably right on.
I hate to say this, but like it's like I think that's like a very middle class white thing, way of looking at it.
Yeah, it could be.
Because
it could very much be. I'm just thinking about like some of the history books I've read about kind of difficulties in life and like shorter spans, and where where it was kind of difficult for people to continue in their sexual relationships, like on the par of maybe what it was when they were a lot younger.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of what I'm getting at. is it's not that certain people don't engage in sex. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying maybe not at the level that it once was. Where I sense in the porn culture, like in our porn culture, it tends to be like, there's almost like it feels like there's a assumption that you are supposed to keep it going, on a particular level.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay, because I hear conflicting data. Okay, they're saying, I hear like they're saying like kids are like having sex more than ever. They're going crazy. And there's like, I see this thing like online, they're talking about like their body counts. Like that's like what I guess like young people, what's your body count? and they're like 250, and I'm like, what? 250? But then I hear this other side of the story. It's like kids don't go outside anymore. They're glued to their computers. They don't know how to interact with each other. And so like birth rates are down, sex rates are down. Kids don't want to have sex anymore. So which one do you think it is? Do you think kids are sex crazy and have more sex than ever and like just trying to like put up crazy numbers, or they're not having sex at all?
And I tend to think this is like, it's probably consistent all throughout history, meaning there's certain periods of kids that totally do have sex and they go out and have a ton of sex. And then there's certain kids that just aren't that interested in it altogether. And this kind of leads me into something, and that is like when you have someone come in to a class, you're assuming that they all kind of are just as maybe interested as a certain group in that class, but there might be, and I've taught sex education in the public schools, where I have this really weird feeling when I'm teaching it that half of the class knows nothing of what I'm talking about. And then half of the class is super advanced and they really get it. And then it makes me feel bad that...
Why do you feel bad?
Because I'm thinking like, I don't think I should be like the half of the class, I think is, I'm introducing things to them. I feel like I'm introducing things to them that maybe I shouldn't be introducing, and that it should be something that their parents introduce to them.
I mean, I've listened to those talks you've given and stuff, and I don't know. I don't think you cross any lines. I listen to them, and I don't think you cross any lines. I've never heard you say anything that I'd be like, oh, I wouldn't want him saying that to my kid.
Oh, cool.
But that's me, I'm sure there's other people. Yeah. Like I remember going back to when I was in high school, we took that sex ed class, like you had to go and get a waiver. Your parents had to sign it.
Yeah. And
there was only one girl out of all of us that wasn't allowed to take her. Her mother didn't. And looking back, I think she was probably Pentecostal, because she used to wear hair. She had long hair, and she wore her hair in a bun, always wear long dresses, no makeup or anything. And her mom was like, nah, you ain't getting a hold of my daughter. But everyone else got to go sit in on the class. And there was definitely stuff looking back in that class that I wouldn't want anyone telling my kids. But I've never heard you say anything. I'd be like, nah, don't say that around my kids.
That's cool, because there was, there's some Islamic kids in some of those classes I taught. And I just wondered when I was teaching, like, did they get a permission slip? Like, did their parents like sign something for this kind of class?
I would hope so.
Yeah, I would hope so too. That was something that was done. And I got to imagine it must have happened where they had to sign some kind of waiver for these kind of particular classes. I was teaching more predator awareness classes, but that's kind of what I feel like this lady's doing. She's kind of trying to get in there and be like, hey, there's all this online material that affects people in various ways. And so, we have to pay attention, because maybe there's a predatory aspect to pornography. And I would say, I would agree with that. There is meaning we don't know if there could be sex trafficking.
Oh, definitely.
People that are involved in pornography.
So yeah, I guess I do think there's a place for it, because I'm glad there wasn't Facebook and all that stuff when I was a kid, and I had a camcorder in my back pocket at all times, because who knows what would be out there floating around the internet of stupid things that I did.
That's right. I'm glad I didn't have a phone either. It would have been, because
I think
bad.
These kids recording themselves, they're uploading it. Your frontal cortex isn't developed. You're just like not thinking like
And that's another good point, because when we think of porn education, a lot of times I think these Christian organizations like this are thinking porn industry. They're thinking the porn industry. And they're not realizing that kids are distributing pornography through texting or sexting and pictures, of themselves. That a lot of pornography today is just amateur porn, that people are doing, like the kids are doing. What I'm calling kids is like teenagers, that are doing. And sometimes we fail to remember that a lot of pornography is just literally a teenager with a phone filming themselves and then sending that picture or that video to friends.
Yeah.
Right? And then somehow it gets distributed, via screenshots and uploaded to various sites and stuff like that. So it seems like, it would be really relevant, to go in to a school system and try to help people with this, especially with the idea that you can be charged, a teenager can be charged criminally, right, for distributing child pornography.
Yeah.
Which is crazy, right?
Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah.
So
they take a picture of themselves, they send it, that's the distribution of child pornography.
Okay, so I think we established that we believe there's a place for this. What's the measuring stick, though?
Yeah.
Where's the measuring stick? How are we going to figure what's okay and what isn't okay?
Yeah, that is. So let's get into this and see if we could kind of break this down with what this person's doing, and then we kind of look at that. So it says, still, as Samuel James put it in his article at First Things, it's rather surprising that anyone who knows the name Harvey Weinstein could believe that progressive gender politics can infuse pornography with virtue. This is especially true of the New York Times. After all, their own Nicholas Kristof just last year broke the story that one of the internet's largest porn site features videos depicting the exploitation of minors, sex trafficking, and even rape. On that particular streaming platform, which received 115 million views per day in 2019, a significant portion of visitors consumed footage of actual violence, blah, blah, blah. This is all talking, we don't need to go into that. So let's see. Porn literacy teachers have no idea how dark and exploitive modern pornography has become. The kids in Font's class who spoke to the New York Times recalled being annoyed and bored by her presentation, not shocked. They'd already seen it all, exposed to this material that is not just dirty, but in this person's words, brutal, cruel, vicious, and even genuinely criminal. Okay, so so this is saying that the kids already know the material.
Yeah.
And they were actually annoyed. One of the quotes is they were annoyed and bored by her presentation. But yet the article is saying that she's doing the wrong thing by going in there, and that she's actually somehow corrupting them, trying to teach them that there's this, ethical way to watch porn. Even though
it was kind of muddled. And what did Harvey Weinstein have to do with
anything? Yeah, totally. I know. I think, I kind of sense that they're kind of reaching a little bit in the article, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the kids already are bored.
Yeah.
Right? They're like, oh man, we know about this. And I can relate. I remember teaching at a junior high. Mm-hmm. And I remember the girls in the class were saying things that were totally XXX rated. And they already were very, they had no qualms with shouting out things that were very intense sexually.
Okay, well, we kind of touched on, you think, we talked about boys, but how do you think it's affecting young girls? I feel like these young girls are watching this and it's like, this is what I got to be. This is what attracts a boyfriend. If I want a boyfriend, I got to do what I see in these videos because this is what guys like.
Yeah.
And I don't look like these girls, so I got to be a little freak or I'm not going to find a boyfriend. I'm going to be alone for the rest of my life.
Yeah, so it does kind of hit both areas. It might hit guys where they do feel the pressure maybe to have to perform like the Dirk Diggler, mm-hmm. Or the Wrong Jeremy guy, the porn star guy, and so maybe it does affect, and it has an issue with erectile dysfunction and that kind of thing. And then and then the ladies, I would imagine with them, I'm sure there's a performance idea too. I need to do these acts.
I have to have this done to me.
Yeah.
I have to be basically just a piece of meat for this guy to live out his fantasies on, because that's what guys like, and this is what these chicks are doing in this video.
Yeah, and totally. So it affects them. So it sounds like this lady's actually trying to get in there to help them make some sense of maybe some of the destructiveness of it. And it doesn't sound like she was going in there to teach, like, hey, pornography is great. I don't think she was going in there with that idea. I didn't sense that.
But it didn't seem she was anti-porn either.
No. She doesn't. It doesn't seem like she takes an anti-porn route at all. It seems like she's trying to help people understand kind of what this article's saying is kind of there's an ethic that needs to be looked at. What their base on that ethic is, what their foundation is, what their measuring line is, like you pointed out already. Who knows, right? It could be whatever. But, there needs to be some way where people can go to a class, just as we had health class, that they could go to a class and learn about biology, learn about bodies, learn about what happens to your body, kind of the transition that your body's going through, that whole thing. So learn about the science of the biology.
Is it even that straightforward though anymore? Is that going to be deemed offensive now though?
Yeah, no,
because
it is.
Well, like I said, this was boys, these were girls, these are how boys' bodies work. But now everything's like, well, I identify as this, but I was born this, and well, I'm offended to that because it's just like crazy town now.
Yeah.
Like I remember I saw this, I don't even remember what the guy's name is, but someone had showed me, it was on Instagram or something. And it was a guy, he was transgender, and he was talking, I think you and Peter, actually, it was you and Peter that were talking about this. And he's like, and was, I went and bought tampons today. I haven't had to use them yet, but I have them.
Yeah.
And it's just like, what? Like, what's going on
here?
Yeah,
there's no doubt that you're right, where today it is not kosher to teach a standardized sex education from 1986.
Yeah, it was like, for the most part, it's pure biology. Just, the
facts
of life.
This is how a girl gets pregnant.
Yeah.
That's what I remember.
Yeah.
Like, this is how a girl gets pregnant. This is kind of what her body goes through. This is what a male body kind of goes through puberty.
So they didn't show you the scary pictures of venereal diseases?
I think they did. I think they showed us some of that too. Probably, what does chlamydia look like?
Yeah.
What does gonorrhea look like?
Yeah.
I think I remember, the sores on the lips and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I don't remember any like oral sex teaching.
No, it was nothing
like that.
No.
Where, like that kind of stuff, I think is going way above board, in a classroom, like to be going into, different positions or going into oral sex. Like that's something, man, let the parents take care of that. I mean, parents need to step up to the plate, man. And have a conversation with your kids, when they're ready to do that, when they're ready to have that conversation. And a parent should be in their kids' lives to where they're discussing things and saying, hey, I'm open to that conversation. When you're ready for that conversation, I'm here for you. A parent should say that to their kid.
So I think those conversations I've heard you talk about can be uncomfortable. And I've heard you say before, like, I don't know why it's uncomfortable. It's like natural. Yeah. Why do you think it's why do you think it is uncomfortable then? If it's so natural, why do you think is this like some Puritan hang-up we have left over from the founders of the country?
Well, I mean, that's part of it. I mean, I think it's a part of it that there's hangovers in culture all the time. But I think it's because it's an issue that every time it's in media or whatever it is, it seems like it's always something big. It's always something that, is intense. It carries with it a lot of ramification. And maybe it should carry a lot of ramification. It is an important part of our life. But it's, so I think that's probably a lot of it in our life, where when we're being raised and we're around so much media that we're around, even we had TV, and that was a lot to the generation prior to us that just had radio, and then just think, prior to that. And so, we had a lot of visual aid too. We had magazines and different things like that. But whenever you even thought much about sex or wanted to talk about it or express it, it seems like, and it doesn't just seem, it always was something that there was a lot of weight around that issue, where, your parents might say, hey, you shouldn't be talking about that, or, hey, you shouldn't be thinking about those things. There's always a lot of negative kind of reinforcement.
How did your parents, you said you grew up really liberal, how did your parents breach the subject with you?
My parents were just I saw a lot of sexuality around me. So they were just kind of free birds, so I saw a lot of just nudity and skin, and that was intriguing, to me. And my parents, had books available. I remember, like, the old, this is dating me for sure, but the famous book, The Joy of Sex, which was a very old book.
Yeah, I remember
Yeah.
that. I remember being in high school and like going to Barnes and Noble and stuff, and we'd go back to that section. Me and my, we'd be flipping the pages, like, trying to find out stuff, looking over our shoulders, making sure no one's catching us.
Yeah, and I remember that book when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And but I think they always had things available, and so it was just like, hey, it's okay, that kind of thing. It's okay to talk about that, and I never had any kind of negative, shameful thing said to me about, like, when it came to sex. So it wasn't like, you shouldn't, or, like, you shouldn't be thinking about it, or stop touching yourself there. You know what I mean? I just didn't have that negative vibe.
All right.
From the parents, where I'm sure other parents, maybe have that, where, they might watch TV and see a sex scene, and then they fast forward, or, and it might be it might just be embracing. It might not even be like, it's not like intense sex or anything.
Yeah, I don't know. The 80s were crazy, man.
Yeah.
Like, the movies coming out, they were like crazy movies. And I think back, like, my parents let me watch that. Like, they just, I mean, not only sexually, but violently, like some of the violent movies. And I would be, like, this is the age of the video store. And my dad would just go, like, I remember my dad was like renting like Ralph Bakshi movies for me. Like, oh, it has cartoons on the cover. This must be for kids. Here, go watch this in your room. And I'm like, whoa, what is this?
Yeah, I mean, the 80s, no doubt, was like a sex education in itself.
Yeah.
All the music. Music was highly sexualized.
Yeah.
In the 80s.
Yeah, Two Life Crew. And
I mean, yeah, there was so much. I mean, no matter what genre you were in, it felt like there was like a sensuality, in these cultures, whether it was the metal culture, whether it, girls. I mean, it was just, what I mean? It just seemed like everything was very, Beetlejuice comes out, the first, the original Beetlejuice, and we all remember the scenes in there where, and just different things, and so it was very, in a sense, I think that's why a lot of us, when we went to sex education in school, we maybe were a little bit like, hey, this is kind of lame, because maybe even in our culture back in the 80s, we felt like we already knew things.
Yeah.
But I think they're trying to help out with the amount of stuff that's out there, and all the sadistic stuff and the crazy stuff that's out there. Again, you have so much amateur pornography that is kind of all over. It's the area of gonzo porn, right? Where you have the feature porn from what our day, 1980s, right? Feature films, the titles, behind the dark room or whatever they were, but they were feature films. But nowadays it's all gonzo. It's all just like first person camera, boom, there it is, just these sex scenes all over the place. And then there's the chats, and then there's the OnlyFans, And then, there's these, cam girls, which OnlyFans is like a cam girl on steroids, where you get to know people and, I mean, all kinds of stuff, where you get kind of this personality. You get more inside into their life, and then you have this scene, but it's like, you have a lot of areas to get crazy, to get really involved, and it's all available to everybody. And so, I mean, OnlyFans, I think you do have to be a particular age, and I think you do. I don't know. I've never really looked into OnlyFans, but I would imagine you have to have some kind of credit card or something like that.
Yeah,
I would hope so.
I don't even know how it works. I know I barely found out about it like maybe a couple of years ago.
Yeah, me too.
Because I'd hear guys like over like, oh, I heard that girl over there has OnlyFans. I'm like, what's this OnlyFans? They're like, oh man, you don't want to know.
Well, I know that. I mean, I watch a lot of MotoGP, and I see that they endorse, MotoGP. I mean, I've seen bikes with OnlyFans on the bike.
Really?
And these are pro top riders.
That's crazy.
So obviously it is a big deal. I mean, that company, and there is a lot of people that are involved in it and that are outspoken on their TikToks and blah 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 and Instagram.
I feel like that all started like in the early 2000s. We kind of started that trajectory of going that way, because that was like when everything was like, seemed like it was about porn. And the porn star, and that was the era of Jenna Jameson.
Yeah,
and all of a sudden it became like kind of glitzy and glamorous, and girls were taking like these aerobic classes where you learn how to pole dance and stuff. And they were wearing, I remember girls wearing like porn star. They had shirts and they'd say porn star on them. Like it kind of like they took. It was like after what was the movie with Dirk Diggler that came out?
Yeah.
It kind of glamorized it and kind of like try to make it like, oh, see, it's like
Boogie Nights.
Yeah, Boogie Nights. It's all, very glamorous and glitzy, kind of like Hollywood-ish,
Yeah.
And it kind of took a lot of the stigmatism away, where before it was like, porn was like, you didn't talk about that. You watch porn.
Right.
That was for your Uncle Harry Palms,
Right. And it's kind of merged into, probably for a lot of, youth, it's like a particular a particular demographic is going to watch and going to be into it. But I do believe there's another demographic that's not too into it at all, that they just like, whatever.
Yeah. I'm sure there is. Not everyone's not into everything.
Yeah. So this person says, it says, there is no such thing as, now they get to their conclusion in the article, there's no such thing as ethical porn use. Porn is premised on the notion that human beings can be abstracted by their personhood and consumed as collections of body parts. Porn assumes and trains consumers to believe that people are products to be bought and sold and then discarded with the click of a mouse or the flick of a finger. Now, I don't think youth think this way.
I don't think you need to watch pornography to think that way.
Yeah.
I've always known guys that were kind of like, use them, get what I want, toss them, I'm on to the next one. They didn't need pornography to teach them there. That's just a human spirit.
Yeah.
That's just the wickedness of man.
And that's kind of a good point, is that porn's not necessarily needed for this kind of heart issue.
Yeah, no, not at all.
Right? So we can get rid of all the porn, but we still got the heart issue going on. Yeah. So but they seem to, be focused on this. And it says, to objectify fellow image bearers in this way inevitably bears the fruit of objectifying them in other ways, often more extreme and degrading ways. The progress toward ever darker genres isn't a bug of pornography. It's a feature. Believing we can tame it is like believing that we can invite a crocodile to dinner if we only teach it table manners. Now, if that is true, okay. Mm-hmm. So if I take what they just said, and they're against what this woman's doing, mm-hmm. and it's true that it leads to darker and darker, and you already have a population who is viewing it, mm-hmm. then wouldn't you want someone to go in there and say like, hey, you're all viewing this, so like we need to talk about it, so like. like I'm not sure they're tracking with that. They're saying, hey, this is leading to more degrading behavior. So that would mean that those high school students that are watching it, it's going to lead them to more degrading behavior down the road, right? So their answer is, the answer to this ever-growing monster of internet pornography isn't to housebreak it, but to rid our houses of it. But she's not going into houses. That's my problem with the article.
I can kind of agree with them. I can see what they're saying.
Yep.
Because obviously this is what was the name of the organization again?
This is Breakpoint Colson Center.
Yeah. So it's a Christian organization.
Yep.
And I do believe that, like, yeah, we all have our little pet sins, and sooner or later it turns around and bites us.
Yep.
We think, oh no, I have this sin tamed. I'm in control of it. It's not in control of me. And I pull it out once in a while and I pet it and I put him back in his cage.
Yeah.
And everything's fine. But yeah, eventually it does turn around and bite us. And
yes.
It takes us further than we ever want to go.
Yeah.
And so I can understand where they're coming from.
Yes, totally. I'm with you there.
But yeah, at the same time, I don't believe you can legislate morality. Like you said, it needs a heart change.
Yeah, totally. And if it's true, what they're saying is that it leads from one step to another, to another, to another, right? And you already have a group of people, right, that are watching it, and they don't know the Lord. It's not a religious school, Then do we teach those people at all anything about it, like the issues of sex trafficking, or the issues of degradation, or the issues of misogynistic attitudes or violent attitudes?
I think there's a place for that, but at the same time, the kind of stance they're taking is like, it's going to just get worse. You start here, you start off vanilla, next thing you know you're watching BDSM,
right, and
then you're watching kiddie porn, and next thing you know you're going across the border to smuggle a child across.
Right.
And you've talked about that, like that's not how it works. That 90% of the stuff on there, most people aren't interested in.
Right.
They have their little niche that they like,
yep,
and they don't go out of that.
Yeah,
niche.
they're and that's just me. I mean, I would imagine other people's testimonies are a little different, and they maybe wandered into other areas that they never thought they would wander into.
It's like marijuana, saying it's a gateway drug. Yeah, there's some people that smoke pot, and then next thing you know, they're doing fentanyl and stuff.
Right.
But I never wanted to do that kind of stuff. I smoked lots of pot back in the day, and I never wanted to I'm going to start doing some heroin and doing this. And I was like, nah, that's okay. I'm good.
Yeah. So they say that ending, the answer to this ever-growing monster of internet pornography, isn't to housebreak it, but to rid our houses of it. Now, I agree with that, right? And culturally, personally, and legally. So they're saying to get rid of it, right? So, but if it's not, and I'm cool with that. Like, hey, let's legislate and try to ban it. I don't think, from even hearing you, I don't think that's going to deal with the problem of usury.
The way I look at it is, if you're not a believer and you're watching pornography, that's the least of your problems right now. Your biggest problem is you're going to go to hell and be separated from God for an eternity.
Amen.
So I'm not worried about trying to get secular people off of pornography. Let's get them to Jesus, and then Jesus will take care of that.
Yeah.
He'll clean them up. I just got to catch the fish. I don't got to clean them. I just catch them.
That's awesome, man. I love that. And that's so good, right? That's great. It's interesting. This kind of I'm not so on this board per se, where this idea of legalities and all that. You say you can't legislate morality, and we think we can, in the sense that we think we can somehow do something and get rid of something, but we don't realize that we maybe never even touched the issue. That we got rid of this, but we didn't really get rid of what really is going on in the heart, right? Like you say, we're not really dealing with the heart issue. You know, it might be nice, it'd be great if you can go into a public school and just, people could share their faith. Like, wouldn't that be neat? Like, hey, today we're going to have an Islamic person come in and share about Islam.
I don't know if I
and tomorrow we're going to have an evangelical Christian come in and share about Christianity. I mean, how cool would that be? What a contrast that would be too, right? To have someone break down Islam, and say, hey, this is why I believe in Allah and Muhammad. And then you have a Christian apologist come in and break down why we believe Jesus is God in human flesh. I mean, I just think that would be radical. And that would be more, I would imagine that would be more beneficial to really the issue, even of helping kids.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, just Jesus. Jesus is the answer.
Yeah.
And I know, like, Billy Graham would go on Larry King, and, he'd always, well, Billy, what do you feel about the gay? Well, they need Jesus. I just love to hear. He wasn't even a believer, but he loved to everybody. That was his answer. He'd always try to, people want to get you with those got you questions, like, what do you think of, oh, well, the gays, they're evil and they're going to burn. But no, they need Jesus, just like I need Jesus. Jesus is the answer. Jesus was the answer for everything. Yeah. Any question they throw at him, well, they need Jesus. Well, what do you think about these people over here? Well, they need Jesus. Yeah. And it's the truth. It's that'll fix everything.
Yeah, that's so true. It's like, and maybe that woman who's doing that, going into the classrooms and well, no longer anyway, but she was, and she got busted for it. But sharing about this, maybe where she is off is that she doesn't recognize the importance of conversion, of people really knowing God.
So who busted her?
So I guess what happened was there was complaints against this. So it says parents, in the Federalist, it says parents are furious over elite New York prep schools' outrageous pornography training.
Okay. Well, those are private schools. They can kind of do whatever they want.
Yeah, they're prep schools. It says the goal, one of the parents say, the goal of this is to disrupt families. Now, this was a parent from a middle school student. So she went into, obviously, a middle school. It says Columbia Grammar and Preparatory School of the Upper West Side of Manhattan, an institution with a price tag of around $47,000 for the highest grade offered, held a sexuality workshop for all students in the junior class. Parents were not made aware of the training. Oh, that's where it's bad. And students were misinformed about the explicit content. One student told the New York Post he thought it was just going to be about condoms or birth control, hence your thing, and says, on the contrary, the training was called Pornography Literacy, an intersectional focus on mainstream porn. It was taught by Justine Ank Font, the director of health and wellness at the Dalton School nearby. Font runs a consulting firm and delivers presentations for those who, quote, want to build or enhance the practice of intersectional health for their school, organization, or families virtually and in person, unquote. The California native spoke, of course it's California native, hey, I'm from California, at the Columbia University Mailman School of Public Health Student of Color graduation ceremony this year. She was invited by the Black and Latinx Student Caucus and advocates for Asian American health. The training was delivered to 120 students on May 5th and discussed the following topics: three big male vulnerabilities, the orgasm gap, partially nude women, what is porn and what is art, various pornography categories such as incest, barely legal, kink, BDSM, and others. So, kind of there's a little bit of a PowerPoint thing.
I'm surprised you got this pushback like this from like a school in New York, especially like an affluent school like that.
Yeah.
I listen to a lot of Timothy Keller, and that's where he was doing his thing out in Manhattan and area. And he's always talking about how liberal and forward thinking though everyone there is in, Manhattan and New York. So I'm surprised you got this kind of pushback from this. I think it would be like a feather in their cap, like, oh yes, my child is taking intersectional pornography, and it'd be kind of something to brag about.
Yeah, totally. And my one of my offspring went to a private school in San Francisco, very liberal, and this would have been a normal kind of thing. This one, it's interesting that this was a younger class, and they did not notify the parents of this, and it seems like that's what the parents are bummed out about is like, we didn't even know this was planned. They say we were completely left in the dark. Makes us wonder what else the school is up to. So, again, there's a lot of kids that are not into going online and watching this stuff. So it becomes their introduction to it.
But it still goes back to, like what you said, you got to have some kind of involvement in your children's life. Don't expect this preparatory school to raise them.
Right.
You should already be asking your kids, well, what are they teaching down there? What did you guys learn today?
Yeah.
Not become outraged after the fact. Like, what are they teaching down there?
Yeah.
It's not what I'm paying all that money for.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's kind of weird, too. If you're sending your kid to a liberal prep school, like if I'm sending my kid to a liberal prep school or a private school in San Francisco proper, I should know what is potentially going to be taught to my kid. Like I wouldn't like to be blown away by it. It's kind of weird, right? Absolutely. But yeah, so maybe if these schools too, if they really want to deal with the porn issue, it seems to me like if they actually taught theology in schools, that would mitigate the issue far better. Like, instead of going in and saying, hey, let's talk about porn and blah 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 blah, which already was admitted that the kids already know about it. They already know. A lot of the kids already are aware of even beyond what they're saying. So if that's the case, then and they already know it, then maybe there's another thing they need to learn that would help. Help their decision making. Maybe it would help them think a little bit more about the issue.
Yeah, I don't know if theology classes. I did a little community college, and I took Old Testament.
Yeah.
But it was very secular. And it's like, oh, these are all myths and all. So I'd imagine that's how they would kind of teach it.
Yeah, and I don't think that should be taught that way. I think if you're going to teach like theology, you got to have someone who believes it, who teaches theology. I think that would be so cool for kids to learn. Like, hey, you know what? Have a Krishna teach about Krishna. And if you want to take that as an elective, you can take that and you can learn about that.
I think there would almost be more outrage over that. I think everybody would be fine if like you had like someone come in and teach the Quran and someone come in and teach Taoism and Buddhism. But as soon as it came to like anything Christian, they'd be like, what are you teaching our kids down there?
Yeah.
Are you trying to brainwash them?
Yeah, but that's unfortunate because, as we know as Christians, what is it that regulates us? It's our love for Christ, right? The love of Christ compels us in our life. And that really it wasn't the sex education class that helped us. It wasn't, right? It wasn't those things. It was coming to Christ, being born again, right? That literally all of a sudden God did this work. And now when we find ourselves getting into the mud of things in this world, we find conviction.
Yeah.
And we find, man, that God help me. But we have the tools now, right? We have the tools where back in the day we didn't have the tools at all. And so it seems to me like you have to give people the opportunity to receive something that can help them. Yeah.
But there has to be, like you said, it has to be that receiving.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it goes back to the change of heart. Otherwise you won't feel the conviction. There will be no conviction.
Right.
Because, I did lots of things with no conviction. And it wasn't until I got born again that the conviction came in.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this is like kind of gross now. Like, why do I do? Whereas something before I like, hey, you'll never guess what I did. Like,
right.
Let me tell you about what I did.
Yeah. Because, obviously we believe that Christianity is the gospel message, is the perfect regulator where we don't need a law. I don't need a law not to murder in the society because I have a law within me. The gospel of Jesus Christ is regulating me to love God and to love my neighbor. And so I don't need you to tell me cheating on my wife is wrong and not good, or beating my child is not good or bad, or those kind of things. That the more I grow in my love relationship with Jesus, I am regulated by his Holy Spirit. And to give people opportunities to have a relationship with God on that level in junior high, in high school, the formidable years, seems to be the answer that people are looking for. Meaning, if you want to help people with pornography in our world, then maybe give them an opportunity to find something greater, something better. And so you have to bring into those schools something that is actually better and greater. That people go, man, that's right. I can have a relationship with the true and living God. I didn't even know that. But now I heard that guy talk, you know? I just find like why don't they do that, man? I mean, like I said, if you want to bring in the Islam imam, you know, and let him have a go at it, then let him have a go at it. But bring in the evangelical Christian too, and let him have a go at it, you know, and let these young people hear theology from those that believe it, and listen to it. They're gonna, at some point, they're gonna probably get on YouTube and look it up anyway, you know, in their life, you know, but you know, give people an opportunity, you know, young people an opportunity to find something better, you know, greater. And we would contend, me and you would contend, that Christianity is the answer. It is the regulator. It is the best regulator. It you know, where you don't have to have a society that bans porn because we already are people that don't want it in our heart. You know, we become people that have this regulation going on in us, you know, and that's great. That's awesome. You know, so to me, that's the ultimate answer to these articles.
So are we going to start like a grassroots campaign?
Yeah, totally. Teach, like, public school systems should allow some kind of theology. And you know, again, if they say, hey, you know what? You know, we don't want to discriminate. You know, we're going to allow, you know, an elective course, you know, because you have to take, when I was in high school, you had to take, I think, 1 or 2 electives. You know, I took wood shop, I took metal shop, you know, those kind of things. You know, but you could take an elective where you learn not from someone who's, you know, teaching it as myth and some weird thing, but someone who really believes in the material.
Yeah, I don't see that ever happening.
I think it would be great.
I think it would be great too, but I tend to look at public school as like brainwashing factories, and Christianity comes into conflict with their worldview. I believe you go to school to become brainwashed, and they want you to think a certain way, become consumerisms, hedonistic, and they're not going to allow that to happen because there's power in the name of Jesus.
Yeah, but
people know that.
But I mean, they don't see it. Maybe the people are blinded to that, but that's in direct contradiction to what they're doing. Meaning, if all this is teaching hedonism and consumerism, which I don't think there is too much of an argument against that. I mean, I think that's the result of a lot of our education. Then you know, and you're going in to teach porn education. I mean, why would you even do that? I mean, aren't you glad they're consuming? Aren't you glad? You know what I mean? Like, I mean, they're consuming. They're consumers.
I think they want to have this illusion of righteousness.
Right, right. That's right. It's like a moral upper hand. It's like some kind. But if that's the case, then why not bring in things that have been in our world for a long period of time? And I mean, you know, you just take the 3 big religions of the world: Judaism, Islam, and Christianity. I mean, how many people subscribe to one of those three?
Oh yeah, I'd say most people, and I think they would. I don't think they would ever allow Judaism, and I don't think they'd allow Christianity. I think they'd allow like Muslims, Islam.
Yeah.
I think they'd allow that in the school because they know there's power in the name of Jesus. Why is it people get so upset when you start talking about Jesus? I can meet a random person, just start talking about God. Oh yeah, I believe in God. I believe God takes care of me, and I know God loves me. But you start talking about Jesus, and it's like, ooh, no, don't talk to me about Jesus. We can talk about God and the universe, or Buddhism, or any of these other things, and you can tell me what you believe, and I'll be receptive to it. Like, oh, tell me more. Oh, really? But once you start bringing up with Jesus, there is a shock at their core. They do not want to talk about
You know
Jesus.
what's interesting about that is I'm in the book of Mark right now, and in the book of Mark, the demons are really emphasized in how they react to Jesus. And the way they react is very much like what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Where when they're confronted with Jesus, there's a offense to it. There's a like a fear.
Yeah, are you coming to condemn us before our time?
Right.
And I think there's some of that in us.
Yeah, the accountability.
Yeah.
That when we talk about Jesus, we are talking about something that's real, and that we have this innate idea that we know we're accountable.
Yeah, and I believe there's authority in the name of Jesus. And
yeah,
the only time you can talk about Jesus is during Christmas, and it better be little Jesus, meek and mild, in the manger.
Yeah.
You start talking about big Jesus, they don't want to hear about big Jesus.
Yeah.
You can talk to me about little baby Jesus. He can't hurt anyone. He just sits there, and he's fine. We can talk about him all you want, but don't.
Yeah, it's funny that the secular atheistic public school mentality has failed. It's just failed. Where whatever's being taught, whatever sex education, porn education, whatever it is, it ultimately fails. Meaning there's nothing that really atheism can do to help. It's like bankrupt. It just doesn't have anything. I just find that it seems like a no-brainer that you would have in high school, especially these electives, that people would go, yeah, dude, man, I'd sign up for that. I don't know anything about that, but I'm totally interested in it. I was listening to this band, and they were quoting, I was listening to, Dream Theater, and one of the songs had this quote in it, and man, it was from a Bible, so I'm interested in that, or, something like that. And, I think people would take it, especially with background. Half of the United States it seems like is Latino, or where we're from, California, Arizona, New Mexico, I mean, you got most Latin culture. How many of these people are from Catholic backgrounds? How many kids are going to high school that have a Catholic background?
Oh, a lot, big time, 90%, maybe 85%.
And so some of those, how many percentage of those might go, hey, you know what? Yeah, dude, I'll take a course in Christianity.
Maybe. I don't know. I know. I don't, and I still run into people like this. They don't. Catholics, a lot of Catholics don't view themselves as Christians. They're like, no, I'm a Catholic. I'm not. I was just talking to a lady not too long ago, and this when I was doing in my job, related to my job, and we would have to vet people to make sure they were Christians and yada yada yada. And the lady was a Catholic. She's like, well, you guys wouldn't accept us because we're Catholics. I said, well, Catholics are Christians. No, I'm not. I'm a Catholic. And I was
kind of weird. I never
I was like, well, what do you believe? Like, do you believe that Jesus was born of a virgin? Mm-hmm. Do you believe he died for your sins? Do you believe he rose on the third day? And I started, well, yeah. I was like, well, then you're a Christian. We can have fellowship. We maybe not agree on everything, but if you agree with these main things, they mean you can have fellowship, and you're a Christian if that's what you believe. And she didn't want to be she thinks like, Jimmy Swagger when she thinks a Christian or something. Like, I don't want anything to do with that. Hanging from the rafters.
That's Donald Trump.
Yeah. Yeah.
Christian, that's Donald Trump.
And I was the same way too because I grew up Catholic, and I was like, no, I'm Catholic. It was all about traditions. And like, maybe I'll eat some fish on Friday during Lent. And then I'm good. But
Yeah.
like, I don't want Jesus in my life. I don't want him like telling me how to live. Like, I'll do some things,
Yeah.
and then he kind of owes me because I did these things.
No, I totally get it. I totally get that. You know, it seems kind of bizarre since, yeah, it seems weird that they would separate it like that, Christian and Catholic. But in high school, it seems like it doesn't matter. Like if you're like if the teacher is cool and the teacher has a good reputation in the school. I mean, when I was in school, it was all about that. It was like, even if it was a class I didn't really want to take, if the teacher was a cool guy or a cool girl, then I would take the class because I felt like, oh man, that's a cool person. They were funny. They were, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Jovial, and so you took the class and it was cool. It was like, it was a fun class, even though I'm not into that subject too much,
Uh-huh.
and I just think like if you had like especially an evangelical Christian, someone who loves the Lord, someone who's just whether it's a male, female, someone who loves God and is friendly with people. And I would just think in a high school, man, that would be like a firestorm, man. It would just spread through.
I do agree with that. I think if you're going to do something like that, or if you're going to be a pastor or anything, you got to be on fire for the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't want to get up there and watch some pastor in monotone voice go on and on. I want someone that I want them to be on fire. I want to see that they're excited about this because that excites me. If you just get up there and you're like, yes, this is the bread of God. Like, I'm like, man, yeah, this is boring. I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you had someone that was charismatic and outgoing,
Yeah.
and yes, that's infectious.
Yeah, I think like, people from the football team, that, football culture has a little bit of that kind of vibe of praying and stuff like that. Sports are really big like that because it's tough and it's struggle and it's up and down and your body's jacked and you feel cruddy. And so, a lot of times they welcome prayer because they need something to help them. And I just think like, gosh, if you had a beautiful heart and you were on that kind of campus, then it wouldn't matter if you were Catholic. I don't think the Latin Catholic person, and I'm not Latin, but my wife is, and she grew up Catholic. But I think like I would imagine that there's a certain group of Catholics that would cross over and say like, hey, it's okay if it's a Christian class. I just want to take it. The person's cool. It's going to be a cool class because that person's cool. And even people from other backgrounds, I think, would take classes like that. Yeah, you have to have another elective of, some other religion or something like that. I understand that, and then you would have the Satanists that would come in and be like, oh, yo, man, we got to have a Satan class. You know what I mean? But I think if you just said, I don't know. It just seems like that's the best way to give opportunity to young people to help them make decisions in their life. Based on something greater, and that probably, I got to imagine that would regulate people probably far more than any class, because people would be like, hey man, I remember what I read in that class. Mm-hmm. I remember what I studied in that class.
I definitely think, yes, there's a great opportunity to plant seeds.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm more pessimistic than you, I guess.
Yeah. But yeah, just planting seeds. Yeah, totally. Yeah. And those type of, and as a Christian, of course, we really believe in that, right? We believe that God's word does not go out void, but it really does penetrate the heart, and that we are to sow the seed. And man, why are these schools so afraid of allowing a theology? I just don't get it. Like, what is the big thing? But like you say, I guess it's that, they in a sense are God. They in a sense are the God, and they don't want any competing people.
They don't want to be. Yeah, they don't want to. No one likes competition.
Yeah,
no one wants competition.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. It just seems obvious to me. It seems really clear, especially in the podcast. As we're talking, it just seems so clear that would be the route to really remedy the situation. Yeah. I can't even imagine a world where that would happen. I think like me and you, we leave right now,
we drive down to the closest high school, and we start standing out there and evangelizing, how fast do you think we'd get arrested?
Oh yeah.
There's no way they're gonna let us go in and teach a class.
Yeah, but you know, and it's not. Of course, it's not. It is just spreading seeds. You know, because you can go to a Christian school, and it's not that those kids don't watch porn, right?
Yeah.
So it's not like it's gonna remedy everything, right? But thing is what a lot of public school kids do understand, or let me say this, secular schools understand. A lot of kids, when they're growing up, they realize something's wrong with everything. Like, you know, like they start seeing things in the ugly stuff.
Yeah. I think kids still are like that. I know that's the way it was when we went to high school.
Yeah.
Like you start questioning everything.
Yeah.
Like, I don't trust anything this person says. I don't believe anything my parents say.
Right.
They're full of it. They're hypocrites. Like,
right.
Everybody, no, don't trust anybody over 20. Like I don't believe you. What do
yeah.
you know?
And you wanna, and young people love to debate. You know, you get junior hires, high schools, they love to debate. They want to ask the questions about God. They want to argue against God. You know, they want to argue against things. And to have a class where those things can be, you know, you could teach and then you could take questions and have debate. I mean, I just find like, wow.
But I've heard Peter talk about it before. He says they don't want to teach rhetoric in school anymore, though.
Yeah.
They don't want you to be thinking critically about things and questioning authority.
Sure.
It's like, shut your mouth and get in line.
Yeah, but it's funny that they would think that and then have someone come in to try to teach, you know, porn education. Like what's that? I mean, how does that going to help? You know?
Yeah, it's not.
Yeah, I mean, so ultimately, it's not really going to do anything anyway.
Look at the DARE program. Did that work?
Yeah.
I never bought into that. Like, you know, Nancy Reagan, just say no. Like, what do you know, Nancy?
Yeah, I remember that, dude. I was like, you know, when I think of the Ronald Reagan days, I think of suicidal tendencies.
Why so much?
Because Suicidal came out with that song.
All I wanted was a Pepsi.
Yeah, like I think it was "I Shot Reagan" or something.
I don't remember that.
Yeah,
I just remember institutionalized.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they have a song called "I Shot Reagan" or something, and it was either that or it wasn't Body Count. I think it was Suicidal Tendencies, but Body Count was another big band.
That was Ice-T, right?
Yeah, Ice-T's band,
metal band.
Yeah, and I think he's still touring.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, with them, but
he's doing commercials. He's still out there.
Yeah, totally. Anyway, cool podcast.
Cool.
Okay, we'll talk to you later.
Later.